This is News at 8.
Good evening and welcome to the Primetime News Bulletin here on the Joy News channel. Coming up, 5-member committee set up to look into a possible overhaul of the operations of SADA, formerly National Youth Employment Program, following allegations of massive corruption. The Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice has also announced preliminary investigations into possible indiscretion at the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority. Yet another set of Deputy Minister nominees today appeared before Parliament's Appointments Committee for vetting. Police secure restraining order to prevent protest march by Pressure Group Alliance for Accountable Governance. Visiting IMF team cites ballooning wage bill as the biggest threat to the economy. All these, plus sports, showbiz and international news, coming up in the next hour.
News at 8 with Israel Lai.
In our very first story, government has set up a 5-member Ministerial Impact Assessment Committee to take a relook at the overall operation and sustenance of the former National Youth Employment Program, now the Ghana Youth and Entrepreneurship Agency, SADA. The committee has 8 weeks to present its findings to government.
Youth and Sports Minister Elvis Afriyie Ankrah first outlined the work of the committee.
The terms of reference of the committee will include to review the regulatory framework of GIDA, formerly NYEP, and how it has evolved to its current state, examining in detail the various models and partner programs, perform current state analysis of financial management, operation of bank accounts, procurement and contracting procedures, disbursements, human resource, and other management practices. Perform in-depth investigations of possible irregularities of crime and related financial losses and actions taken by management to recover possible embezzlement of money and other assets, as the case may be.
He reiterated the work of the committee was not to witch hunt anyone but to undertake an overall assessment of the youth employment program for greater benefits.
The prime objective of this exercise is to undertake an overall impact assessment of this youth employment program since its inception in 2006, with a view to taking corrective measures where necessary to ensure that the mandate of the program is delivered in the supreme interests of the collective youth of this country.
The 5-member committee includes Ferdinand Gan, Edward Amuzu, a legal practitioner at Sraj, Rudolph Nso Mbala, an accountant, Kwame Edem Senanu, a management and development consultant, and a representative from the Public Service Commission. The committee will submit interim reports to the Youth and Sports Minister every 2 weeks.
Elsewhere, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SRAJ, says it has also initiated preliminary microscopic investigations into operations of the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority, SADA. According to the Commission, it has progressively monitored and gathered information on SADA from the media and other sources, which it is going through, with an outlook for lack of transparency, corruption and conflict of interest situations. SRAJ Deputy Commissioner Joseph Utal told the Ghana News Agency their reaction would be based on the outcome of the preliminary microscopic investigation. Anti-corruption body, the Ghana Integrity Initiative, in a statement issued yesterday, had called on Parliament to go beyond merely calling on the SADA Chief Executive to answer questions in Parliament and asked Parliament to invoke Article 278 of the 1992 Constitution and, by resolution, request that the Commission of Inquiry be appointed to inquire into issues emerging from this entire SADA project as they are matters of public importance. According to GII, an investigation was necessary to ensure that SADA did not become as one of the failed projects that had been initiated in the past to help reduce poverty in the north and bridge the gap between the northern and southern parts of the country. Another batch of 5 nominees today appeared before Parliament's Appointments Committee for vetting. Today's sessions were, however, rather brief, with the members posing very few questions to their appointees.
Almost all the nominees had fewer questions to answer. The sessions, therefore, came across as rushed, probably so the members could start their weekend early. The vetting of all the 5 deputy minister designates, including the time in between they taking their seats and going off, just lasted about 2.5 hours. Dr. Tia Sugri, who is heading to the Ministry of Health, spent the most time before the committee, less than 30 minutes. Ebenezer Klete Labi, who is heading for the Defense Ministry, Yao Efa Befi for Lands and Natural Resources, and James Agalga were the others who appeared. The second deputy minister designate for the Ministry of Education, Alex Cherme, an MP for Techima North, a former teacher, says he will use his experience to help resolve the impasse between the teachers and the government over their conditions of service.
Normally, if we put them behind us and then we propose policies, it is very difficult for them to embrace the policy itself. So any policy that will not put teachers first is bound to fail. So we are going to help our minister to put teachers first. What the minister herself is doing is that he has put together a consultative council comprising all the teacher unions and high-level officers from the Ministry of Education and Ministry of the Ghana Education Service and major stakeholders, so that they meet and talk every time. There isn't the need to wait for them to strike before their issues are addressed. So I think if I get the nod, I'll be in position to help the minister to actualize her vision of putting them together, look at their grievances every time, address their grievances, and then persuade them to or help them to do whatever is expected of them.
The rest of the nominees scheduled to appear next week include John Jinapo, Dr. Hanabisiu, Samson Ahi, Nilante Vandapoy, and Victoria Hammer.
Students of the University of Ghana are calling on their lecturers to return to the classroom to mitigate the negative impact the strike is having on their academic work. Some final years who spoke to Joy News are worried their project works are suffering lack of guidance and supervision from lecturers.
Students were spotted in study groups, sharing notes or learning on their own.
It's been like 2 weeks or 3 weeks now since we've not had any lectures for long, and because of that we are supposed to have, I think, 15 weeks or 14 weeks for academic work, but then due to the strike, some of the weeks have been taken out without any academic work being done. So it's really affecting us, and we are supposed to learn on our own now.
For me, as a final year student, we had a lot of presentations to do concerning most of our electives. Okay, we had to review an article and all that. But because of the strike, it has been called off. We don't get to hear from the lecturers whether the scheduled dates for the reviews will come on or will not come off.
Academic work, they say, has come to a halt because of the lecturers' action.
Because we are here to learn, and their absence are affecting our learning negatively.
I'm in level 300, and as I speak with you now, we are doing a little of a project, and it would affect us in the sense that they would let us stay longer on campus, which is not a good idea. You'll bear with me that when you're staying on campus, you spend more money, you spend other things, which is also another cost factor.
Government on April 2 appealed to the striking teachers to return to their classrooms, assuring that their grievances will be addressed. A statement signed by the Minister of Information and Media Relations, Mahama Yariga, on Monday, April 8, 2013, said government has reiterated its desire to pay the arrears as recommended by the National Labour Commission. But the last that was heard of UTAG was its members' rejection of the proposal from government to pay the arrears in installment.
Members of the Alliance for Accountable Governance, AVAC, will not be able to carry out the Miaku demonstration slated for April 18. This is because the Greater Accra Regional Police Command has secured a restraining order against the march. Greater Accra Region PRO DSP Freeman Tete told the media in a statement, High Court Judge Her Lordship Patience Mills Tete issued and signed the restraining order. The court has also ordered the police to negotiate an appropriate date with AFAC for the intended demonstration. The police say they intend to legally enforce the Public Order Act and are asking that AFAC comply with the order. We're taking a break now, but we have more news coming up. Stay tuned. There fears some expired beauty products discarded at a dump site at Weja may be making their way onto the market. Managers of the dump site who hint to join news about the looting of the items say the general public must be wary of the products.
The items, including hand and body lotions, showed expiry dates of 2009. They were dumped Wednesday night. The managers at the dump site, however, say almost half had been looted the next morning.
The chemicals inside is spoiled. Some are white, but because it is spoiled, so it is come brown. You can't even use it. Yes. When I open one for you, where you see how it is all spoiled. So we decided to have to close it all. That's what we decided. We pour all. That's why I dig the smoke down for you. This is what we need. That's why we said we should pour it for us so that we should close this. But as the people have been doing this, so we decided that we have to close it.
They have since decided to destroy the rest of the items, but have warned the public to be on the lookout for the products and inspect their expiry dates before purchase.
We'd expect that the FDA would quickly move in and see what they can do about it. But elsewhere, the Food and Drugs Authority has directed all cold store operators in the Upper West region to install standby generators so that cold chain would not break in the advent of brownouts. The Upper West Regional Officer Akurugu Gordon disclosed this to operators at a meeting in Wa, stating the FDA will soon take action against cold stores which fail to comply. Rafiq Salam's report from Wa.
The meeting between the Food and Drugs Authority and some stakeholders, especially cold store operators in the region, came as a result of the outbreak of anthrax in some parts of the Upper East region, where 4 people have been reported to have been killed, and the upsurge in the sale of unwholesome products in the region. The Upper West Regional Officer, Gordon Akurugu, stated the authorities' aim is not to collapse their businesses, but rather how to protect them and the general public.
Fish decomposition is very faster than meat, the raw meat we have. And then you are selling frozen fish, not any ordinary fish. For that matter, when the cold chain is broken, then it affects it enhances the decomposition. It's mandatory that every cold store operator should have a standby. You see, if we don't say this, and at the end of the day we go out because you don't have standby generator, we are saying that close. People will conclude, Food and Drugs Authority, we are out with people. You've recruited people from why here, they are dependent on you, and we are saying you should stop. So you imagine the number of people will be out of job.
The cold store operators were also given opportunity to ask questions on FDA's regulations regarding their operations. Rafiq Salam's report from Wa.
Up next, we bring you business news.
Joy News Business is brought to you in association with
Maximum, your world of maximum possibilities.
Consultant Professor David O'Brien says Ghana can eliminate budget deficits if its assets, human resource and infrastructure are properly managed. He asked leaders to be rational, prioritize and spend on projects which can bear fruits in the long term when budgeting.
Ghana continues to battle whooping budget deficits, a source of concern to many. At the end of 2012, for instance, the country's budget deficit was 8.7 billion cedis, amounting to 12% of GDP. The projection is to drop the deficit to 9% this year. Professor David O'Brien says although Ghana is an emergent market, it can eliminate these deficits.
The best way is nurturing the assets that you have, like your people, getting your people training, using the money for training, for infrastructure, so that your people help you earn your way out of the deficits. You manage through your deficits by being rational about your budget, by making sure that money is spent, but to make sure that a substantial portion of the spend goes to projects that bear long-term fruit.
For him, equipping Treasury practitioners across the country will aid the country in managing its finances.
As a country, first by being rational and looking at your strengths and your weaknesses. It has great strength in its people. It has great strength in its natural resources. And establishing crisp, firm, fair policies having to do with taxation, budgets, approval of budgets, and dealing with the issues.
Meanwhile, some selected Treasury practitioners in Ghana and Nigeria have undergone a 5-day preparation course to achieve the Certified Treasury Profession Certificate, which has about 23,000 holders globally. Participants were taken through several courses in treasury management, including debt, investment, and risk management.
Okay. With a 2007-2008 meltdown in the advanced countries, which is having a rippling effect on the that is developing economies like Ghana, the new trends in treasury management will go a long way to improve our operations. And I believe what we've learned here, if we should, that is transcend it to whatever activities we do at our various companies, in the long run is going to sort of impact on our performances and put Ghana on a better pedestal.
Treasury should be mostly run as a non-profit center, which will kind of focus Treasury correctly, as it should, in managing the risk involving exposures. So these methodologies, or should I say concept in Treasury management, was correctly reviewed and proposed as much better than what I am used to back in Nigeria, where you run Treasury as a profit center, and then instead of managing risk, you are exposing your bank or organization to more risk.
The CTP exam certification is a benchmark of competency in the finance profession and is recognized as a leading credential in corporate treasury worldwide.
Global Credit Reference Bureau Dun & Bradstreet has started operations in Ghana. The third credit bureau to be established in the country, Dun & Bradstreet hopes to contribute to the development of the financial sector. Group CEO Miguel Lenas says using their technology known as Silverblade, both lenders and borrowers will be able to access reliable data to facilitate loan transactions.
Credit bureaus collect credit information from lenders and credit institutions to build customer credit profile, including borrowing history and repayment records. These credit reports help access loans easily, as the lender can get the credit history of a prospective borrower and ascertain their credit worthiness. The launch of Dun & Bradstreet brings to 3 the number of credit bureaus in the country. Financial experts say credit bureaus play very important roles in the development of the sector.
But the credit bureau's operation, the assessment are customer specific and based on the historical performance of the customer. This helps in determining the appropriate interest rate that should apply. Coupled with the competition that is about to occur, that is with the 3 credit bureaus, it is anticipated that this will contribute immensely to the reduction of the cost of borrowing. Rapid credit growth has a direct correlation with an increased risk of low repayment. In this light, credit bureaus provide the best mechanism to improving the rate of default and mitigate the threat to the financial system.
CEO of Dun & Bradstreet Group, Miguel Lenas, explains what they are bringing to the Ghanaian market.
We're bringing to Ghana one of the most powerful technologies developed in the credit bureau world. Personally, I spent the last 2 years developing the system that is being launched here today called Silverblade. All the banks information of all the customers one Monday in the morning, and next day are going to be published in the credit report. You have information just today, now, not late information. What do you win? What do we win with a report that contains data 60 days, 90 days late? You're going to make a decision on that? No, you need to make a decision with the data today, the one that is on a repository in 2 days. Not only that, I'm envisioning that Ghana will become some sort of center for other countries in Africa.
Miguel Lin has acknowledged the poor identification system in Ghana as a huge challenge and called for collaboration with all financial and public institutions to share correct data of customers to enable the Bureau build better credit profiles of borrowers. The Bank of Ghana announced it is developing a centered data repository which will feed all 3 credit bureaus with the same information at the same time. This venture, the central bank says, will relieve banks of having to submit data to 3 credit bureaus separately.
A visiting IMF team has indicated the rising wage bill remains the biggest threat to the country's economic stability. According to the fund, if government does not institute measures to check this trend, things could really get out of hand for the country in terms of its finances. Head of the African Department of IMF, Christina Daseking, disclosed this to Joy Business after the fund came to town to carry out their own assessment of the economy. And elsewhere, the World Trade Organization has formally confirmed the exit of Alan Chermanting from the race for head of the World Trade Body. The announcement was contained in a formal statement released earlier today. This was after the WTO Governing Council carried out its first selection process to shortlist the candidates to 5 from 9. Now, car maker Toyota has assured millions of its Ghanaian customers the latest recall of defective cars is unlikely to affect them. A number of automakers, including Japanese leaders Honda and Toyota, yesterday announced recalling about 3.4 million cars due to airbag defects. Toyota alone is recalling some 1.7 million cars around the world, including the popular Corolla Matrix and Tundra models. At a news conference to launch its newest RAV4 vehicle, General Manager in charge of operations, Eric Daku, explained Ghana is not affected. Now, the new RAV4 has a spacious interior that's been redesigned to appeal to current day technology. Toyota says in addition to the added new features, the price of the 2013 Toyota RAV4 has also been drastically reduced to suit the pocket of the average Ghanaian. Up next, we bring you Smart Investment Tips. One more business news item before we go. Officials of Air Namibia say they have had a change of mind about an earlier decision to halt operations on the Accra route. Although it's still unclear why the board of the airline took that decision, it appears a temporary announcement must have badly affected the airline. Addressing journalists at a news conference, manager of Air Namibia in charge of West Africa, Peter Odai, says they are back for good. According to reports by the Namibian Sun newspaper, the country's Prime Minister and the Minister of Transport instructed the board to reinstitute its Windhoek-Accra route. The directive, according to them, represents a resounding political victory for Namibian High Commissioner to Nigeria and West Africa, who had urged government to halt the planned closure of the route. Up next, we bring you international news.
Business was brought to you in association with
Maximum, your world of maximum possibilities.
Right, it's now time for sports, and George Addo Jr. is here. My man, George Addo Jr. is here. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, one of the stories we have coming up tonight has to do with the Black Starlets. Apparently, they've gone through the
MRI scan.
They've sailed through the MRI scan.
That's right.
So essentially, sailed through the MRI scan.
Because CAF had made it a regulation that if you didn't sail through, you know, the whole thing took place today. If you didn't sail through, you're not going to be part of the African Youth Championship.
Okay.
After all of this training, everybody was absolutely tense in Marrakesh in Morocco because this was all important. And at least for the first time, we know that these boys are...
Okay, you know what? Let's just hold on to that. You just deliver the bulletin and then we'll have a quick... I have my own thoughts about it. So,
seriously.
But you just finish with it.
Obviously. So we'll take a short break. And when we come back, we'll talk a lot about it. There's also a boxing bout that Asamoah Gyan is putting together. You want to know about this? We're back after this. We'll be getting into the Black Starlet story in a bit, but let's do boxing now. And Baby Jet Promotions have announced an 8-bout package scheduled to take place at the Lebanon House in Accra on Friday, the 27th of April 2013, with top-talking Emmanuel Tegel set to take on Filipino Robert Pontias for the WBA International WBO Africa Super Featherweight Championship over 12 rounds in the main event of the night. Joy Sports cameras were present at the launch of the package.
Our prime concern is to have as many promotions as possible, quality ones, with fights at the highest level so that our boxers will be projected onto the world stage. And that is precisely what Baby Jet Promotions is doing to assist us, and for that we are grateful. Sometime last year they staged what was arguably one of the biggest fights in recent memory, and I believe this one as well will pull the crowds who will throng the Lebanon club to watch this fight. Some of these have been in the pipeline, but I think that they have been encouraged by the change in the new board in place, and I feel that it adds to the excitement we have on the boxing scene currently. I do recall that at the last promotion, a lot of people who hitherto have stayed away from the ringside suddenly emerged and said, well, we are now coming to back boxing big time. And I think that it's a sign of good things to come for this board and for boxing as a whole in Ghana.
All right, so now we do the Black Starlets story. Very interesting one down there. And Ghana's under-17 team is set for the 2013 African Youth Championship after their final squad members passed a mandatory CAF eligibility test today. The continent's governing body conducted the age cheating test for all 8 teams who would feature in the tournament from the 13th to the 27th of April in Morocco. All 21 players picked for the tournament passed through the system. The Ghana Football Association ensured each player selected in the Ghana under-17 team was MRI certified before the qualifiers were played last year. The Black Starlets will open their African Junior Championship campaign against Nigeria on Sunday before playing Congo and Ivory Coast in Group B. Ghana must finish as one of the best 2 teams in the pool to qualify for this year's FIFA Under-17 World Cup in the UAE. So,
All right, so
interesting news.
You know, interesting news. But you know what fascinates me is that after I heard the story on radio.
That's right.
And there was one
Dr.
official
Pambo,
you spoke to
from the Ghana Football Association
who was pretty excited about the fact that we are sailed through, and he was talking about how we had to go through and how they determine all that.
That's right.
And I was asking myself, so we're excited that we sailed through the MRI scan. Should we be excited? I mean, it's supposed to be normal. I mean, we shouldn't be feeling anything. We should be indifferent. I mean, because unless there's confirmation that we sent overage players there. And so we were essentially sitting on tenterhooks and hoping that we'll sail through. And so we've sailed through and say,
and we but the truth is, yes, we're on tenterhooks to the truth. Okay. And the trend in Africa, really, the truth is, yes, for a number of years, we've been going on with that.
Okay, so are you suggesting that our players are actually overage? Yeah, except that they beat the scanner.
In Africa. But I can't say for now. No, what I can say is that the scanner has actually vindicated them, because I think they had it from 2 rounds. Okay, there was one in Ghana and there was one here. So at least for this one, I'm sure. For this one, I'm sure.
Hold on. You are 36 years old. You go through the scanner, MRI scanner, and then it passes you. But it vindicates you, but really...
But you know, scientifically, the way everything is done, according to, Dr. Pambo, they go through the system, and there are supposed to be, some... Okay. Spaces in between the wrist and all of that. So I'm sure this one is at least okay. Even if it's slide away, it's not too bad.
Let's leave it there. We have some matches coming up over
Excellent
the weekend.
games coming over the weekend. I'm sure there's one that you're very interested in. That should be the FA Cup semi-finals. Yeah. And Chelsea is playing Manchester City. Okay. I don't know if you think you can go through.
That's a cracker. No, I think we'll go through.
You're sure?
I'm
you beat Manchester City and go through?
Why not? We beat Man U.
Okay.
Okay,
so I think now you can say that. Does
Man U have a game too?
Man U is not part of the FA Cup.
No, I mean
out of it. They have a game. They are still leading. They have a game this weekend.
So
they have
which league games? Okay.
Just look at the league games. They're playing Stoke City. Nothing really from it because they've already won it.
But Stoke City could still shock
they could do something. But the problem is that for Manchester United, they have already won the league, and we all know that. Everybody knows. Even the diehard Chelsea fan knows that. The only thing is that they are not part of the Europa League, or they are not part of the FA Cup. Chelsea will be looking to win at least the Europa League and the FA Cup.
And then locally?
There is a big game. Kumasi Asante Kotoko, after they exited the CAF Champions League, are playing against Ebusua Dwarfs. It's a game that everybody is interested in, especially what are the fans going to do. When Kotoko played the game in the MTN FA Cup game, what happened there was that the fans decided not to come because we're very angry what happened in the Champions League. So it's a very interesting game there. We'll see what happens there. And your team, Accra Hearts, they play against Ash Gold. Division 1, Oli Dade, Oli Gbogbo, Oli Rosalinda play.
Wow. Yes. Okay, go over them again.
Oli Dade, Oli Gbogbo, Oli Rosalinda, Oli Confirm, Oli everything. That'll be all for sports.
Interesting games coming up.
My name is George Adejuna. He's going to come your way with Showbiz. There's nothing like Oli in that one, I can promise you. Have a good night.
Sports was brought to you in association with.
That's, by the way, it's first time airplay anywhere in Ghana, and you're getting a courtesy Showbiz on the Joy News channel right here on Multi TV. But if you listen carefully to the lyrics in this, a few of them quite explicit, it tends to tell you that if you thought that Kasentri or Akutia is just restricted to Ghana, then you're wrong, because it's full of those snide remarks all through those lyrics. But just stay tuned. I'm sure we could get you that video sometime later. But that's it for Showbiz. All right, so going on to our Facebook wall and to some of the comments you have sent in to us, Paul Kwabnao says, please post, okay, that's not meant for us. Kuku PSC Boama says, Shraj will come and say SADA is incorruptible, we know them. And then Eli Klim Agoti, ballooning wage bill for the legislature, the executive and other government appointees, not a working bee of a public sector worker. And then Jojo, everything going from bad to worse in Ghana. The police are just some pitiful group of people who don't know what their job requirement is. Instead of them apprehending and arresting the numerous armed robbers in the country, see what they are doing. Helpless, pitiful, Okay, at that point, I think I'll leave it there. And then Martin Mensah says, transparency and corruption-free state is all we need. Our leaders are mismanaging the taxpayers' money at the expense of developmental projects and general welfare of citizens. And then Yam Yolia Yusuf says, monkey the work, but boom the chop. And Amadou Mohammed from UDS, I feel like committing suicide because nothing seems to go right. We're supposed to start our exam on Monday, but no confirmation of whether we are writing or not. We have spent all our money for the trimester or the semester. Oh, God. So that's from Amadou Mohammed from UDS. But Amadou Mohammed, there's no reason why you'd want to commit suicide, so please don't. That'll be all for our comments on Facebook. Before we go a quick run through our top stories, the five-member committee has been set up to look into a possible overhaul of the operations of JADA, formerly the National Youth Employment Program, following allegations of massive corruption. The Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice has also announced preliminary investigations into possible indiscretion at the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority. Yet another set of Deputy Minister nominees today appeared before Parliament's Appointments Committee for vetting. The police have secured a restraining order to prevent a protest march by Pressure Group Alliance for Accountable Governance. And then visiting IMF team cites ballooning wage bill as the biggest threat to the economy. That'll be all for the bulletin. My name is Israel. Have a great weekend.